Okay, so we're going to get to making a thing here, but I need to tell you about two different modes that we work in Blender. And so this is going to be edit mode and object mode. I also want to point out that down here in the bottom left corner, I have my screencast keys enabled. So as I move this around or select on things, or maybe hit some keys here, you can see things happen, okay? So in object mode, I can do some stuff. I can do actually a lot of things here, but if I want to edit the actual vertices, the points, the lines, the faces of this object, that's what I'm going to do in edit mode. So I pick the object and then I come up here and I go to edit mode. And then if I want to go back, then I come back here and hit object mode. The hotkey for this, watch down here, is tab. Tab takes me to edit mode, and tab again takes me back to object mode. Now, what can I do in object mode? What can I do in edit mode? Well, if I want again to go into edit mode, first off, I want to tell you to select the object. It will not matter in the first few times that you use this, and then one day all of a sudden it's going to matter because you've got more things on the scene and you're going to be editing the wrong object. In object mode, you're not looking at necessarily just this cube. It could be, will be your entire scene. It could be a whole cityscape that you're looking at. And if I wanted to edit the one brick laying loose on the ground, I would select that brick and then I would tab into edit mode to affect what we say is the mesh itself. And so what I'm talking about is in wireframe here, you can see that we've got our points and lines everywhere. So that's the mesh. In object mode, we don't get to do that, okay? So I'm here in edit mode, and for example, I could come up here and I could pick this face and I could extrude it out, and then I could scale it in, and now I'm making a thing, right? And if you caught that over here, you'll see the hotkeys on how to do that, but we will look at that particular command later. So I'm going to undo this and go back to object mode. What can I do in object mode? Well, I'm not really allowed to edit the mesh itself, but I can add in a thing called a modifier, and that's over here where the gear is. And so I hit the drop down. There's a lot of them. I'm going to hit this one called a bevel, and immediately you see that it just bevels the entire cube. If you want to bevel just a single edge, that would be a thing you do in edit mode, but that's not something I want to talk about right now. I can come over here and I could change this, and I could actually even add some segments to make it look more rounded. By the way, just because I know that everybody's going to want to do this, if you make it just a few like this and you think it doesn't look so pretty, so you crank it all the way up so it looks nice and smooth, don't do that. We'll explain reasons why, I promise, but for right now you want to keep it kind of simple, okay? So this does that. It changes the depth of the thing, you know, how the chordal length of it right here, and how many segments are inside of that. But if I tab over into edit mode, it still believes it's a cube. As far as the mesh is concerned, nothing has actually changed, okay? So I don't exactly want to say you could think of it as a preview, but maybe go ahead and think of it as a preview of sorts. This particular modifier, or the modifiers themselves, don't affect the mesh until you come over here and you hit the apply button. Now, if I go back into edit mode, I cannot hit the apply mode, just letting you know. So if you're here and you say, no, I'm good, I do actually want to edit the mesh, because there comes a time when maybe you want to do that. If you see things that are grayed out or things just don't exist any longer, check your modes, because odds are you're in the wrong mode. Now, to talk about some of the importance around this type of an idea, if you know Fusion 360, CATIA, or any of the SolidWorks, you know, the CAD softwares out there, any of them, FreeCAD does this too, they use different objects. So you click an icon, you do a thing, and then that object remains in the tree somewhere, and you can click it later and you can, you know, change it, right? You could add a fillet, and then, you know, a year later you can come back and edit the fillet. Well, when it comes to mesh editing, it's what we call destructive. So when we go into edit mode and I start actually manipulating this thing all over the place, and I grab this corner here, this is going to be weird, by the way, but if I grab this and I wiggle this all around, I'm distorting the mesh. Don't worry about the thing in the middle that's wiggling all over the place. The point itself and the cube, it's becoming destroyed. I'm changing it. There is no takebacks. I can hit Control Z, but if I were to move, say, this over here, and then I grab this one over here, and and then I set it there. I'm like, oh wait, no, I didn't want this one here. I can't just come back and fix this one. I just can't edit this one. I would have to hit undo to get rid of that one and back to normal. Okay, so we're striving in a mesh world to create a situation where we could have something like non-destructive editing. And that's what these modifiers do here. They allow us to stack them up. You can make piles and piles of these things right here and never actually modify the mesh. So that's very beneficial because, again, like I said, if I want to have, I want to keep working on this, I keep adding modifiers and making some changes, and then I want to come back and I decide that this was too big, too small, and I want to change it, then I can come back and change it. Okay, now comes the destructive part of this. Once I'm done with this, or at least I believe I'm done with this, and I'll show you, take a peek over at the mesh here, everything is still the same. I come over here to my modifier and I hit the drop down and I apply it. When I apply it, it just straight disappears. It's gone. Over here, nothing really looks terribly too much different, but when I go to edit mode, you now see that the mesh has been modified. And if I look at it here in wireframe view, it's very obvious that we've completely changed that, okay? So we'll go ahead and call this one a wrap. Now don't take any of the words that I just used or inflected on like destructive or non-destructive. Don't take that as to mean we should never ever destroy the mesh, because it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's just a thing that is also available to us if you want to do it using the modifiers.